This is Canada Reads American Style, featuring two friends who love Canada Reads and Canadian literature. Welcome our host Rebecca from Michigan and Tara from Ontario.
Hello and welcome to Canada Reads American Style. It is day 2 of Canada Reads, CBC's Canada Reads competition, and we are here for our day 2 wrap-up. I'm Tara. Hello, Rebecca.
Hello, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm a little frazzled. I worked late and I finished watching the debates just like minutes before we started recording, but I am ready to go.
Good, yeah.
Yes.
And I have to laugh because when I was looking at different things, they had somebody like on the CBC books stories, it said day 3. And I was like, day 3. And then other people like Michelle Morgan said, it's day 2 today. So I was like, okay, good. I thought, did I like blank out a whole day for gosh sakes?
Yeah. Nope, it's only 2. It's 2.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay, how do we want to start this off?
Well, I just want to say that I just want to say to start off that it was very clear for me in the first 15 or minutes or whatever when they were talking about Jennie's boy that it was going out. It wasn't a surprise at all. Just the way the whole conversation went, it was I wasn't even surprised. And at that point, I just said, that's the one going. I don't even have to hear the rest of the discussion. That's the book that's going out today.
Yeah.
I was bummed.
Yeah, me too. Well, do we want to start? So today they just asked Ali just had one question for the defenders, and it was, why is your book the one book to change the narrative? And then they each had a turn to answer the question, and then the other defenders gave their 2 cents. So they actually started. Jennie's boy was the first one. And Linwood, I flipping love Linwood.
I cannot agree more. I love him. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be his friend.
Yeah.
I want to hang out with him because let me just say, when he talked about the humor, here's the thing that he said that really struck me. And I think this is why this book, as much as I like the other ones, and I really did, I loved this book. And I loved it for the reasons that he said. And one of the things he said was, it's like time and distance is what allows you to have humor. And I was thinking about that because when he made that comment about his dad, all the stuff that he was going through at 16, and I want to read his memoir now too, because I think that'll be really interesting. But I was thinking about my own dad. My dad was a son of a gun. And yet that's the thing, looking back, that's when your humor comes out, because you don't want to remember the hard, awful parts of somebody, right? You want to remember the things that made you smile, laugh out loud, shake your fist, whatever, that's funny. And that is why I loved Jennie's boy, because it was just able to focus on, not try to explain away all the crazy, screwed up, dysfunctional stuff in his family, but that I like that it, like he said, it was a slice of life. So
Yeah.
I thought he defended it so beautifully.
I did too. And I found it funny that most of the defenders, though, didn't see the humor in it. So I thought that interesting.
I feel like maybe if you haven't lost somebody, maybe they're young enough to have not really lost anybody really close to them. Because I was also thinking about, my grandmother, when she passed away, one of our relatives was visiting from Hungary. And at the funeral, after the funeral, when you get together, everybody was sitting around telling stories about my grandmother. And we were all laughing because my grandmother was a character. And we were all laughing. And my cousin from Hungary, she was like, I don't know, like 20 years old or something. She was horrified that that's how we were in grief. So I just sort of feel like, again, the humor part is such a critical piece of the grieving process. And maybe these, people haven't really lost people and been able to recognize that's a really important function of grief. I don't know.
I do have I don't know if it would be a bone to pick. But
Oh.
I know I was, and even actually when my husband was passing by at some point when this was said, and he was like, "What?" Anyways, what during this discussion, Shayla happened to mention one that she didn't learn anything about Newfoundland, and she wanted to learn something about Newfoundland. I guess I should paraphrase or say at the beginning. I'll preface it. Sorry, it's been a long day, people. I'm going to my words are going to mumble. I am from Newfoundland. I grew up in Newfoundland and then just left in my mid-20s, kind of thing. That book was Newfoundland.
Yeah.
Those were Newfoundland people. That was Newfoundland.
Yeah.
So I don't know how she didn't get Newfoundland from this book.
I mean, I have to admit, and part of it could be, I read Small Game Hunting, so I kind of
Mhm.
had a flavor of Newfoundland. I think there have been other things I've read that were, by Newfoundlanders. But it's so funny when she said that I am not even from Newfoundland, and I went, "What? Are you kidding me?" That book was. That's when I was reading it. I thought, "Hey, this is what Newfoundland was like back in the
Yeah.
day." So
Yeah.
that shocked me that she said that. Yeah,
Yes.
but
So that, and then two, I also did not appreciate when she judged Wayne's mother based on today's attitude and culture and said that she even questioned whether Jennie even loved Wayne. She based that upon Jennie not wanting to accept social assistance, which I get. It was there. However, I will point out, I think this was in the 60s, right? That he was
mhm,
this age, 50s, 60s. I grew up in the 70s in Newfoundland. You did not want to be on welfare,
yeah.
or what we called the dole. You did not. You did not want to be one of the families that accepted welfare that could not do it by yourself.
Mhm.
It's just it's a flaw, but it's just the way it is. And Jennie, at the same time that she had these people offering her assistance, they were judging her as a mother. And she just wanted to prove herself as a mother. And I did not like that. I did not like her assessment of Jennie.
Also wrote that down too.
Yeah.
That really, yeah, because I said this during one of the other podcasts. I think he and I are really close to the same age, so that's why this book also. That's why I loved it so much because I felt like, yeah, of course we're all smarter now, right?
Yeah.
We all know everything. We're all perfectly, we're all perfect in the way that we live. But back then, in the '60s and the '70s, I'm telling you, that was real life. And
Yeah.
again, I didn't grow up in poverty, but I was blue collar working class. And so I know, I mean, that was true to life. That felt real. And the kids I went to school with, because if you're here,
Hmm.
if your parents or your father didn't work in in the car factory, you were poor. And
Yeah.
I went to school with a lot of poor kids. So that's what I'm saying is everything about that book resonated with me, but I'm not a Newfoundlander, but it did because I just feel like it was so he really nailed that time period, the attitudes, the way of life. And I agree with you. That bugged me.
Yeah, yeah. So not to bring a little negativity into it, but I did not appreciate that because I will say the same way that everyone knew Wayne as Jennie's boy, if they had accepted social assistance, then they would also have been known as the family who were on the dole and who couldn't
Absolutely.
do it. Yeah.
Yep. I
So,
totally agree.
okay. Shall we move on to Dandelion then?
Sure. Mhm.
Okay, so book number 2 was Dandelion, and I loved Saïd's argument, his defense of his book that essentially immigrants are not a monolith. That's his phrase. Fantastic. That there are different immigration experiences and different opportunities to different immigrants, and that Dandelion was like a window into the an individual immigrant experience.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And one of the things I really liked that I kinda highlighted for myself was when they were talking about the food and they kinda wanted like a glossary of food and all. I mean, that was I know, I just about lost it on that one because I thought it's like, why do we have to fit every single thing in. Although it was
Yeah.
interesting because later in the show, Shayla did admit that she was a nonfiction reader. So I thought,
Mhm.
okay, I get that. And as a nonfiction reader, I sometimes too want all that information. But you know what I do? I look it up afterwards. But yeah. But
True.
one of the
Good point.
things, yeah, but one of the things that Saïd said was food is an anchor for immigrants. And I thought that is so true because, every culture has those food things that they love. And that's what's going to make them feel grounded where they are. If they're in a new place, it's still going to be the food is their touchstone. And so I just thought the glossary idea was, and then she wanted a glossary of characters, food, maps, and other images and stuff. At one point, I think Linwood, he came back and he said, something about the authors, like sometimes we want more from the author, but that's not what the author's giving us because that would be maybe a different book or a different,
Yeah.
story. So we can't ask of the authors more than what they're giving us because they have a reason for giving us whatever they're giving us, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't say it as well as he said it, of course.
He was brilliant. He only had like 30 seconds too, and I was like, "God, give him more time," because he was like, what I won't whatever he said about the first paragraph, he was just basically like brilliant and look stuff up. He's like, you can look it up.
Exactly. I love that.
I love him.
Let's see. Anything else about Dandelion? I agree with you. I just think I love Saeed's just style of
Yeah.
just that really calm and centered way of just making his points. And I just, what a chill personality. I
Hmm.
really, really like his
Yep.
personality.
Yep. He's stealthy. He's
Hmm.
stealthy. Do
Hmm.
not underestimate him. He's good.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Okay, book 3 was Etta and Otto and Russell and James. What did you think of Michelle's defense?
I think she's really good at her defense because again, she's written it down, that initial statement,
Hmm.
and I think she can kind of refer back to that. And I thought so much of what she said, and I think I kind of wrote it down where she said that it changes the narrative because of the dementia, love, the time period, I think, the aging, it kind of the style in which it's written, it refuses to fit into a genre.
Yep.
And that also it just tells the story differently than many books, right?
Yeah.
So I thought she just sort of laid out all of those arguments really quite well.
Yeah.
How
I
about
agree.
you?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And it's funny because then the main argument against the book seemed to be, and I think Michelle knew this, that's why she went with that defense, was the style that people just struggled with how the story was told and sometimes got lost, didn't know what was going on. Or I think Shayla even said that she wanted to know the resolution. She wanted resolution. So,
And I'm glad that Shayla did make that comment
mhm,
about how much she likes nonfiction because I think it gives me more insight into what she was expecting from these other books in a way.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
It did make me laugh. Maggie said her opening statement when asked about this book, she said, "Well, I thought it was a cute story." I thought,
Cute. I
cute
know.
story? Like it was painful and beautiful in so many ways. And so and I think too, and no shade at all on Maggie. She's said many times that she's getting back into reading. She didn't have time when she was younger and everything, and she's getting back into it. So this probably was a little bit outside of her comfort zone without the quotation marks, for example. And
Yeah.
I was thinking again of Small Game Hunting because that book, people either loved it or hated
Mhm.
it, and that was one of the major, you know, points about it was it didn't have quotation marks. And I think I don't know, maybe as you become more of a seasoned reader over time, you encounter all these different varieties of writing so that maybe it doesn't hit you as hard so that you can kind of more focus on the story. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
What did you think about Linwood's just flat out saying this book is not for me?
I loved it. Even though I love this book, I love that
Yeah.
he was just like, I just didn't like it. This was not for me. He's like, I don't know why people don't put quotation marks. And I just,
said it's like leaving out. He said it's like leaving out the letter R.
That's right. That's right. He's like, I think I'll leave it the letter R in my next book. I'm like,
Yeah, Linwood's a character. I like him.
yeah,
Yeah, he's
me
cool.
too. Me too. So
Let's
I
see.
actually appreciated that he didn't try and floof it up at all. Like I think he gave the book like its kudos and that it has, that he could see that people would like it, but he was like, just wasn't for me. And he
Yeah.
just put it out there, and I like that.
I'm trying to think if anyone has ever, in the years I've been watching, I think this is like my 9th year. I don't know that anyone's ever just flat out said that. Like, this is
No.
just not my book, and then not really have much to say about it. That was kind of
Yeah.
funny. Let's see. I'm just looking to see. Oh, one of the things I liked was after he said that, then Michelle came back and said, art, but art is to push the boundaries.
Mhm.
That is the point of art. And I thought, oh, well, that was a really great response
Yeah,
back.
that
I
was
like
that was
that.
a good response. I liked actually her response to everyone. She was like very I can't think of what the word would be, but just whatever criticism she got for the book received, she acknowledged it and somehow made it into a positive. Like I think it was with Maggie that she was like, I understand. I went back and I reread that paragraph that you had trouble with. And she's like, but I'm really glad that you were able to get something out of the book. Like she always managed to address the criticism, but then also make it into a positive for her book somehow, like be like, but you also really got this out of it. And I thought that was a really subtle.
Another way she did that was Saïd made a comment about, we got to know the characters when they were younger and then when they were old. I think he actually said old instead of older, but that's okay. And he said, but we didn't really have anything in the middle. And
Mhm.
then that's when she just beautifully sort of said, we need to fill in the blanks. Like
Yeah.
that's what we're supposed to do as readers. And I love that because the truth is we do have to do that in,
Yeah.
almost in probably every book in some manner. We're not going to 100% know everything. So we will have to fill in the blanks.
Yep.
So
Yep. Okay. Our last book, Two Spirit Journey. Yeah.
can I just say this?
Go for it.
No one, and I have to, full transparency, I haven't read it. I have not read the book. So, but Tara did kind of fill me in a little bit here and there about her impressions of it, which I know you liked, but I feel like nobody is willing to put it out there that it was a bit of a hard read in terms of its style. And I thought, oh,
Yeah.
they gave Etta a lot of crap about the style, and yet nobody seems to be saying that about Two Spirits. So
Yeah.
talk to me about that. What do you think of that?
I felt the same thing. They really didn't let me look through my notes. There were a couple, like I remember Saeed said that he felt like it was very subtle, and whatever critiques they had, it was of the writing style I found, so not the story at all, but, like, he said that it lacked context, that something was missing, so basically the writing. And
Mhm.
Maggie said that she didn't like the layout of the event, so boom, 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 so the writing. Um, I cannot remember, I don't have written down what Michelle said.
She just said what I wrote down. She just said I learned the most from this book,
Mhm.
but she did say something about it was like just kind of recounting the happenings, like just
Yeah,
boom, 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 that kind of thing.
yeah,
But it was almost in a way, it was still so subtle. Their criticism of the book was so subtle that I thought, I feel like, and again, I didn't read it yet. I mean, I haven't read it, but I feel like there's a lot more criticism for Etta when to me it was still a beautifully told story.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And I feel like
yeah,
this one's just completely getting, well, not completely, but it's getting a bit of a pass.
yeah, for the
So
writing.
yeah,
Um,
for the style.
because I even found so Linwood started to say the same thing that he wanted when he started reading it, he wanted more art, more craft from the writing, but then he defended it. Like, and it was a beautiful defense of the book,
Hmm.
saying that, but it was never intended to be that kind of book. It was intended to be a telling of Ma-Nee's story, and that's exactly what it did. So it accomplished what it did. So he was like, I don't know if I can critique it
Hmm.
based on the writing style. So
But here's my question for you though.
yeah.
Well, you may agree with me, I don't know. I still feel like if this is supposed to be a book that is that all of Canada should read, knowing that there are hardcore readers, there are readers in the middle, and there are readers who will never people who rarely read. Is this really going to be an accessible book for all or most people? And I just don't think
Yeah.
it is. I tried twice and I just could not get into it. So I
Yeah.
feel like in that way, that criticism is really valid. It doesn't negate in any way the horrific story of her life and its triumphs. It doesn't negate that at all. I just feel like we're heading into it winning and I just think that a lot of people will say it wasn't my book. It
Yeah.
wasn't for me, you
Yeah.
know? How
I
do you
think
feel?
oh, no, I agree, and I think that Plummer's writing style actually overshadows Monet's storytelling because Monet's voice doesn't really seem to come into it. We get, we get the details, we get a retelling of her story and what happened in her life and all this, but we don't get the storytelling that I think Monet, if we were to sit down and talk, would give us.
But that's what was interesting because I think that's what Shayla had said at one point, that this was Anishinaabe storytelling. And I thought, "Oh, well, damn it, I missed that piece." Then I
Mhm.
mean, like, I sacrificed not reading it and missing that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that really is in the sense that you had this other person writing her story, and like you're saying, maybe her voice didn't come through as much, I don't know.
Yeah. And I Shayla did say that she was amazed that Monet was able to like relate her story step by step so chronologically in detail. Now, I did not read the full acknowledgments at the end because I got bored by the acknowledgments. But I do believe that she said like most of it was Monet and Mary Louise Plummer, right? And Plummer would do mostly video talks and stuff like this, virtual calls and stuff, in which Monet would just talk and Plummer would transcribe. And then she would then have questions. So they would go back and she would get her to retell and fill in stuff. So I don't even think that Ma-Nee told her the stories in the way that it was written down. I think
Mhm.
Ma-Nee told it in a storytelling manner. That's my feeling. And
Yeah.
that Mary Louise Plummer then was like, well, this happened. This page goes first, and then I'm going to take this page because last week we talked about this, but it happened before today's events. And, like I think she is the one who put it in chronological order. That was my take from it.
I think then having seen, unfortunately, my beloved Jenny's Boy get voted off, how do you feel about tomorrow's like, or how do you feel
Yeah.
about yeah, because tomorrow we'll be down to our final
Hmm.
2. So, yeah, what do you
Yeah.
think?
You know what? I thought today that there was a moment that Etta and Otto was going to go
Oh,
because,
really?
yeah, because Linwood doesn't like it. And I don't think Shayla liked it. And I don't think Maggie was big on it. So there was a moment when they were talking about it that I'm like, I don't know. I was a little afraid for Etta and Otto. So I think it could be Etta and Otto tomorrow. And that would leave us with Two Spirit Journey and Dandelion.
Which I think is what I said, I
Yep.
think.
Yeah.
I know that I said Dandelion because you went, "Oh, if that did, it would make a lot of people happy." That's the only reason I
Hmm.
remember I said
True.
Dandelion.
Yeah.
But you're right, it would put it down to it. So, I have a feeling yeah, and I think it's gonna be that it's style,
Hmm.
right? Its style is gonna kick it out. You're
Yeah.
right. I think you're right.
Yeah. That's what I think. Were you surprised by anyone's votes today? Should we recap for people or?
So Maggie Maggie voted yesterday for Etta and then today for Dandelion, so I
I was
thought
shocked by Maggie's when she said dandelion. I was like, "What?"
and there was nothing in the show today that gave me a hint that she was gonna change her vote for a completely
No.
different book, so that kind of yeah, I agree, that surprised me.
Yeah.
Linwood not wanting Etta, that totally was good because he made it really clear.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I knew Jenny's Boy was gonna go. But
Yeah.
I actually thought I thought it would be like a 4-to-1 vote on that
Yeah.
to I was surprised. But yeah, so what's Maggie doing?
Yeah.
I
Keeping
don't
us on
know.
our toes.
I think so.
But again, I thought their debates were great. I thought they did a great job of like highlighting their books, and everyone, even though they were times very nice books, I also felt that they weren't afraid to share their critiques,
Hmm.
what they didn't like about a book.
Yeah. I have to say, I'll have to go back and think about it. But yeah, you kind of changed my attitude yesterday about the show. And I think it's almost because they are just very polite, not in a, and I don't mean that in a critical way. It's just like they're very polite. They let people finish.
Yep.
But I do feel like everyone's getting out what they want to say. Nobody seems, except for Linwood at that point, kind of being rushed at the end. But I feel like everyone is saying what they want to say. No one seems to be holding back. Although I still would argue a little bit on the Two Spirit journey. But uh, it's been a really, like, I've just sat back and just enjoyed hearing the debate
Yeah.
because that's what we want. We want people to just talk extensively about the books, and that is exactly what they're giving us this year.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a good day too.
Yay.
Yay. Okay, let us know. Send us a DM, leave a comment, let us know what you thought of day 2, and we will see you back here tomorrow for day 3. Happy Canada Reads! Thank you for joining us on our bookish journey. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing Canada Reads American Style wherever you listen. You can connect with the podcast and Rebecca on Instagram at Canada Reads American Style, and with Tara at On a Branch Reads. Until next time, keep reading.